Due to technical difficulties, we'll start the meeting at 7:21 p.m.
Okay, I've got 7:17, but
Oh, okay, I'll go with that. Oh, you're right, I look at my phone, not my wall clock. 7:17 p.m. Looks like we've got 3 select board members and Betsy. Does anybody have any announcements?
Yes, I do. I'm just going to make it quick. The Recreation Committee will be losing Stephanie Murray on the end of August as she has taken a new position down at Queechee School System in Windsor, Vermont. So John Brace is not going to be on the Rec Committee any further. So we are now 2 short, but we have a pretty good contingency of Rec members, but we shall have to go and appoint new ones.
All right. Any other announcements?
Betsy, did you see the full names up there for Rick now?
Oh, Rick Dinkle. Is
Yeah.
he still a resident?
No, but
Okay,
it's a public meeting, so anybody can,
Right.
you don't have to be a resident.
just wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
Has everybody got their minutes from the last meeting from June 8th? Had a chance to
Yes.
look them over?
Yep.
Anybody want to make a motion to approve the minutes of the meeting from June 8th?
This is John. Oh, go ahead, Paul.
I make a motion to approve the minutes for June 8th.
Any
That
seconds?
was Paul. That was Paul. This is John. I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? None. Abstain? None. So I move that, I declare that that has passed, the minutes. Check warrants. We have 1 AP and 1 payroll. Did everybody get a chance to look at those?
Yeah.
Yes.
Let's start with the payroll one. Payroll 00622 in the amount of 905492.
Hey, Supergirl.
I missed whatever that was.
I did too.
Bill, can you put those up on the screen just so that they're in the, or I can if you can't.
If you can, I can't.
Okay, let me see if it's, nope, host disabled screen sharing. So unless,
So
Can
Steve
enable
must
me,
have done that.
yeah,
Bill, can you repeat the number, the total number amount?
The total amount is $9,054.92, and that's payroll.
Thank you.
I have them all loaded to send to everybody for signatures, but I don't usually send them until we've discussed them.
this is John. I'll move to approve the check warrant PR 00622 in the amount of $9,054.92.
I second it.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Aye. Obviously none opposed since the 3 people in the quorum approved it. So payroll 00622 is approved. The next one is an AP payroll, and it is 00618 in the amount of $59,482.06.
This is John. I'll move to approve AP 00618 in the amount Bill just read.
The amount of $59,482.06.
I second it.
All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Aye. No dissent, so that passes. The next is overweight permits. Betsy, did Sharon send them to you? I signed one on Monday, this morning.
She sent me 3. I did not get one from her that you signed this morning.
I've signed 5 since the last meeting,
Okay.
one this week, the others in previous weeks.
Yeah, she sent me, I've got Kevin Brown, Conant Trucking, and Paul Fournier. That's all she sent me.
Okay, there's a new one to those two. I'll
Okay,
have
okay.
reach out to her.
Yeah, I can reach out to her.
Okay.
You said you signed them this morning?
Yes, just one. The others were last week.
Okay.
So we're starting late, but public comments. I don't see public except for Rick Dinkle. I don't see anyone else in here.
Bill Jost is on as well, or he was a second
was.
ago.
He just left.
Because we're going to talk with him about a couple things tonight. Yeah, I don't see him yet.
He was in and then popped back out again.
He's going to talk about delinquent tax policy and tax anticipation note. So I hoped he'd come back in. Should we wait till 7:30 to see if any other public comments? Anyone else wants to say anything? Thoughts?
Sorry, I was muted. If we want to move ahead, if we have non-controversial or just kind of informational things, we can do those. So we preserve, things that the public's likely to comment on for 7:30.
Okay. So the first thing on the agenda is the animal control officer. The applicant was Mike French, and he was going to speak to Melanie to get a better feel for the job. And I don't have any information to know whether he's done that or not.
Do we know if, I don't know if Steve's still listening or not. If he's heard anything, maybe he can chime in.
I see him there, but I don't know. No, his audio is off.
Yeah.
And I don't believe we have somebody else joining. Laura Farrell's joining.
Yeah.
Laura, did you have anything to say under public comment?
No, I wasn't sure where you were. I was just joining in. I wanted to hear the highway update, but I guess that's in a little while.
We started 17 minutes late.
Oh, okay. Another happy Zoom.
Another happy Zoom. Wonder if this will be the last one. We'll see.
Oh, God, I can't wait.
I know the DRB's meeting, I think, at the firehouse where they can distance a little better.
Ooh.
Yes, and it's working pretty well.
It is?
Yeah, I think so. The problem we have run into, because we've been trying to run a concurrent Zoom meeting too for people who want to participate that way. It's really echoey, that building.
Right.
So, yeah, that's the only issue.
All right. Well, nothing further on the animal control officer. Did anyone read any of the packet Steve sent, specifically the letter from the Addison County Sheriff's Department?
I did not receive it.
You did?
I did not get to it was the packet Steve sent out today,
Yes.
and I did not get to the Sheriff's Department letter. Have you looked at it, Bill?
I have read it. I read everything in the packet pretty much. And basically he talks about they have a deputy now on call 24/7. They've provided us with the on-call number, not just the regular office number, but the on-call number to reach the deputy that's on call 24/7. They're expanding their summer hours for patrol. They're going to be on the road from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. We're back to our standard threshold for car stops before COVID. In other words, now you're going to get a speeding ticket or an overweight, which you did not for the last about 10 weeks. And yet,
Good.
last week they were in Moncton Ridge writing tickets.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Nice to see some enforcement there.
You mean truck enforcement or speeding?
All of it.
Yeah. They now have a new vehicle manned by another deputy who is trained in overweight. And I saw that at the Town Garage Recycling Center blocking that driveway. It's a pickup truck and it says commercial enforcement. And I saw that about a week and a half ago, but I don't think we get a lot of overweights there. Instead, they're flying through the ridge. So I don't know what they were doing posting there.
Yeah.
Did they go on to, go ahead.
Are we handling, there's a separate speeding agenda item, or are we talking about that under sheriff stuff?
Just the update, the letter that the sheriff sent us. They
Okay.
go on to say that it costs $34 per break-even cost an hour. So starting in July, they're going to change their rates. Will increase, and let me read it. They're going to go from $31 an hour to $34 an hour to cover their costs. And in 2022, they're going to go to $37 an hour.
Yeah.
Peter goes on to say he's welcome to come to he's welcome to attend a select board meeting if we want.
The reason I asked was I thought it was going to be a separate agenda item, but we had a letter or an email from somebody on
Yes.
State Road,
Yes.
corner of Old State, Parks Hurlburt, concerned about safety and speeding there,
Yes.
and requesting, some sheriff patrol there. I don't know if I had the impression they were going to tune into the meeting to participate or to share their concerns. I guess we can go back to, if they do come in, we can just go back and pick it up under public comment.
We can do that.
And I guess the one thing in anticipation of that, if they don't come in, we could just mention that one of us will request to the sheriff that they include some patrols on that corner when they're up here.
Not only State Road, but wasn't it Parks Hurlburt too?
Yeah, one of the people complaining lives right on that corner.
Right.
So you get both.
Yep.
Through there, and especially on Stage Road, it's a problem because the sight lines are so bad.
I made a note of that. Steve or I can do that and request they increase watching that area.
We did. I think one of the emails mentioned times of day that were, tended to be more frequent.
The morning commute, I suspect, as I recall.
Yeah. Okay.
Do we have somebody else who joined the meeting? I see someone called call-in user number 1. We've got Laura. We had Rich Dinkle. Is there somebody new in the meeting? If you could identify yourself.
I don't think that's her, but Betsy is in the waiting room trying to rejoin.
Oh, okay.
And I'm going to give Steve a call.
To get booted out?
I haven't seen him on since he left.
She froze, and so she went back down to another terminal. Steve is the one that says Moncton host there.
Yes.
The one with no picture.
With no picture and no sound on.
But where's...
So,
Hello?
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 Hi, is that Laurel? Laurel?
Hi.
Don't
Hi,
look like-
Steve.
Betsy's back.
Okay, did I miss anything?
You're back. Betsy's back.
Did I miss anything I need to,
No, we ended with the sheriff by saying we're going to ask them to increase the patrols in the area of Parks Hurlburt and Stage Road.
okay.
we just reviewed the letter we received from the sheriff.
Okay.
The next item on the agenda is the highway department status, and I was under the impression that Ben was going to join us. I will text him now, see if I can find out what's going on with him.
Somebody called in, it looks like.
Have we asked the call-in user to identify themselves? I haven't heard them say anything.
I haven't either.
The person who called in by telephone, could you let us know who you are for the minutes? I guess not.
I have texted Ben. I don't have an answer yet.
Yep, the caller in just hung up.
Scared him off.
Yeah.
Should we go skip over Highway Department and come back if Ben answers and joins us?
Yeah.
And we're probably gonna have to pass over review delinquent tax policy because Bill's not
Because
on
Bill
either.
Jost isn't there. He told me what he proposes, but I'd really like him to be here for it.
Are we ready for him? You want me to text him and see if he can
Oh,
join
Ben's
in?
in. Ben has joined
Okay.
us. Hi, Ben.
Right.
Hey, Ben, you're looking kind of grizzly
Ben.
out there these days.
Hey,
Yeah. COVID beard.
Join the group.
Ben, can you let us know how the FEMA visit went last Wednesday?
Yes, sir. We did the site visit. They
For which site?
both
Okay.
sites. I apologize. I can't think of the title of the gentleman that came out, but they have to do like a written assessment type thing. Which we have a liaison from FEMA. Her name is Kelly O'Brien. She's our connection to FEMA. The gentleman that came and did the site visit prepares a report to her, gives it to her, and then FEMA does a cost assessment, and then we sort of show them our cost assessment and agree on a middle ground, and then they determine whether or not they're going to pay it, and then we go and do the work. So a couple weeks.
So that report has to be submitted before you can start any work.
That's my understanding. Yeah.
And that was Mountain Road and Piney Woods.
Yes, sir.
So the other thing, I know you're going to love this, that Steve was talking about because of all the people in town worried about finances, was going to see if there's any place that you could cut the budget. I'm not expecting you to answer that here after having just gone through the budget, but I know that was on Steve's mind.
Yep. Well, the only place I see is paving.
How much
the
do
only-
you have for the year?
108,000, I think, or maybe 110,000.
Was this new blacktop or repair?
No, it's repair.
What roads?
We were gonna do hard scrabble from the intersection of Laurel Hill to the to the gravel on hard scrabble, and then overlay Mountain Road from the four-way intersection to
Where it's paved now?
Preston Lane. Yeah, where it's paved now.
That's about at the culvert, isn't it?
Yeah.
So Ben, in your opinion, what do you think the consequences would be to allow this to go on to the next fiscal year?
I mean, Mountain Road's a little rough. I think we can patch it up. Well, we can patch both of them up a little bit. As far as long term, I don't think it makes much of a difference. It's just going to be a little bit different in the ride over the road for a year, basically.
So you're not looking at such deterioration in the coming year that it's going to make a boatload of difference in the total or anything.
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Hard telling. I mean, it depends if we have another hard winter like we did last year. Maybe that might be different, but
Yeah.
it's hard to say. I mean, personally, the Mountain Road blacktop, if I had my druthers, I'd pull it anyway and go back to gravel, but I don't think that's going to happen.
So we don't have any contracts or obligations that you couldn't say goodbye to for the paving. We're not
We have-
obligated.
We have none, no.
Is there grant money that we lose, or would it just,
We didn't get a paving grant this year. We're not eligible until next year.
okay,
So no. But that's really the only place, because I mean, you're not going to cut your winter maintenance budget. And I mean,
But
that's really-
100,000 is a good part of your budget.
Yeah, I mean, blacktop's expensive, and it doesn't go as far as people want it to.
Right.
So do we need to make that decision tonight, or do you want to wait till we have more members? What's everybody think?
well, we just told Bill we weren't going to ask him to make a commitment tonight since it just kind of got sprung on him. So,
Yeah.
I mean, not Bill, Ben.
Ben,
Yeah, I mean, I
When
kind of
would
knew this was
when would
coming.
we be setting this in motion if we did it, Ben?
Well, I haven't even heard from the paving folks yet because they're doing their big projects and they're pushed back because of COVID anyway.
Yeah.
But I think I don't see our $100,000 being super high on their list.
Yeah.
So they're not running to do our job anyway. I know that some other towns in the area have had to do the same thing, and that's the only place that makes sense to cut a significant amount of money, really.
So there's nothing pressing us to do this
Tonight,
at this meeting.
no.
I mean, probably even next meeting, they're not going to be hammering down our door saying, "What's your answer?" Okay. I'd be inclined to wait then, Bill.
So then I suggest we continue this discussion to the next meeting. If hopefully we'll have more people present. We're not obligated to do any of it now.
Yeah,
All right.
unless, yeah, Ben, if you can't think of anything by the next meeting, it sounds like you probably got a good handle on the fact that we could possibly put that off to the next fiscal year.
Yeah, I think that's the most reasonable place to save, again, any significant amount of money, I think.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Ben. Anything
Thanks,
you
Ben.
want to discuss?
No, I'm good.
All right.
Have a good night.
You too.
Thank you. The next thing on the agenda is the building envelope commissioning contract. And I actually wish Steve was here to explain this since he's involved with it, and I'm not.
Do you, Bill, do you want to, I mean, Bill Martin,
Yes,
Bill Juice is here. I can contact Steve and then Bill can do some of the stuff on with his agenda items if you want.
all right, or you could contact Will Bound.
Okay, I'm not sure.
I don't know if Steve's up to this.
Yeah, I'm not
Yeah.
sure if I have Will's. I don't know if I don't have a phone number I can email him.
Yeah, that's all I have is email. Why don't we move on for the moment and talk about the delinquent tax policy now that Bill Joseph's joined us.
Okay.
Bill, you had mentioned an idea to me today about just an idea, possibly waiving the penalty for a period of time and possibly altering the interest. The interest now is 1%, and after 3 months it goes to 1.5%. And I think you were suggesting maybe let the interest the interest itself go to 1% for 6 months before it goes up to 1.5%. Am I close?
You're muted. Bill's muted.
There we go.
Hi, Mary Kate.
Hi.
Bill,
Bill,
Joseph, can you
unmute?
hear us?
No, he's got it. I can see you're muted, Bill. I don't know if you can look at your audio there. No. Um,
He's calling in. Thought he's calling in. Mary Kate, you're there?
I'm here.
I think you had researched for Steve in a previous meeting, and we've got the Vermont statutes here that allow us to change our interest and penalty policy for this year due to the COVID. Am I correct?
Correct.
Okay. Steve had printed those out. I have those.
We talked about it last meeting, right? And I went over the
Yes.
statutes, and it's also part of the packet we got. So
Yeah.
everybody should have it and be able to reference it.
I don't know who Bill Joseph's calling into, but I don't hear him.
Looks like he's at the town clerk's office.
He is. I recognize the file cabinets with all Betsy's mess on top.
I know.
I bet his
Can't-
Yes, it
a
is.
microphone on.
No, Yeah, if you don't have a touch screen, he can't activate his particular screen. to
Put on
turn
hold by, hold it up a little higher, Bill.
By
Put on
host, not
hold
by,
by host. I will call Steve.
yeah, not by me.
Yeah.
I'd like to get his input before we take any action on this. And of course, the taxes bills go out in August and they're not due till November, so we don't have to take action tonight.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I hear you.
Yes.
Yes, we can, Bill.
All right.
All right. Thanks, Steve.
Bill,
Hey,
did you hear what I said about what you
I
and
did.
talked? Okay.
I've heard you guys for like the last 10 minutes when Ben was speaking.
Okay.
That was an idea, Bill. Keep the 1% interest for an extended period of time and either delay or eliminate the 1.5% interest outright.
1.5 delay or just, and this is all just this tax year we're talking about,
Correct.
as per the Vermont statutes. And the penalty, were you thinking of waiving it for, were you suggesting waiving it for a specific period of time and it kicks in later? Or that we skip
My
it for
initial
the whole
thought was
tax-
just to waive it outright given the circumstance.
for this tax year?
Correct.
So if somebody still has back taxes in 2022, it would, that would carry forward, so there'd still be no penalty on the 2020 taxes. Just the-
Correct. I can designate what years and what percentages.
Okay. I think we can only do it for this tax year according to the Vermont statutes that were passed to address this COVID year.
I'm assuming Bill's thinking saying he can, on the system, indicate it's just this year that you're not. And
Correct.
by you,
Interest and penalties are applied by tax year.
okay. And, you know, we're using the word penalty, but the statute doesn't use penalty. So you're talking about the 8%
Yes.
collector's fee.
Correct.
Yes.
Late charge. Yeah.
Does anybody wish to take any action on this now or wait, since we're not even going to have tax bills till August or later?
Can I ask just a quick question for the minutes? Because I ran to get my water. So what Bill is proposing is the 1% interest be extended for a period of time and then waive the 1.5% interest. Did I get that right?
I believe that's true.
Okay.
He was
Like there's
suggest-
just one interest charge that applies monthly, and that charge today changes after 3 months.
Okay.
And what Bill and I talked about today was just a suggestion that maybe it doesn't go from 1 to 1.5% until 6 months. And the penalty we just discussed, it can be waived for the entire tax year.
So the 8% collector's fee waived and the 1% is stretched from 3 months to 6 months?
Yes.
That was the
And then
suggestion.
1.5% thereafter.
Yeah.
Well, it seems like, you know, that's a good balance between still providing an incentive for people to pay their taxes instead of, you know, putting it off because they're getting more interest, keeping their money in the bank or in a CD or something.
Yeah.
And yet providing relief to people who are suffering from COVID-19.
Of course, we'd have no control over if the people who took advantage of it needed the relief or not. That's not our business, but.
Right.
And Bill and I talked about that, and about 30% of our taxes are paid directly by mortgage companies. So I doubt they're going to be allowed to go late.
Yeah, I did have so I did see that, and I haven't looked at the bill, but it looks like there's some stuff coming out of Montpelier regarding, at least for the education tax, but maybe for both, for some relief for municipalities who aren't collecting taxes. Have you seen any of that, Bill?
I have not.
So I would propose that we hold off since there's no rush, and maybe see, I do think there's something coming out of Montpelier to give relief to municipalities, because I mean, our big problem is if we don't collect the taxes, then we don't have the money to operate. And that's a concern. But if there's some relief coming out of Montpelier for that, that would maybe alleviate or minimize that concern.
So it seems the consensus is we'll wait and put this on another agenda, if not 2 weeks from now, maybe a month from now. When we see how everything's sugared out.
Yeah,
Yep.
I think that sounds good.
okay. I'm
Bill-
getting the sense that people feel it's a good idea, but we want to wait and see how much more comes out of the state before we decide.
Before we tie
Yeah,
our hands.
From what I've heard in the last 2 days on the news, is that the legislature is not taking that up till next month.
Don't they adjourn? Shouldn't they be adjourning shortly?
Yeah, but it's
In
for
a
the next
normal-
the next legislative session.
Okay.
Excuse me.
Okay. Bill Joe, since you're still with us, can
Yes.
you fill us in on the tax anticipation note?
You should have in your possession
We do.
the documents for signature. The terms are exactly as presented last meeting, which is 1.7% on $375,000. It will be a line of credit with interest not applying until we, use the money. And we must repay, I believe it's 12/31, by year end, which should not be at issue. And our need for that is significant. Our current balance in our checking account is, if all the checks were to clear, is approximately $73,000.
And that's after the AP and the PR we just did, right?
Correct.
And you're going to have more of those soon, I bet.
Yes.
Okay.
So if I recall correctly, we didn't vote on it, but sort of approved in principle this thing and told them to go ahead and get the paperwork at our last meeting.
Yes.
That's
And I
correct.
think-
And in fact, that's an excellent point, John. The select board would need to formally approve, I don't know the terminology, but either the issuance or the receipt of a tax anticipation note from the National Bank of Middlebury for the sum of $375,000.
It's
That
actually,
is a requirement of the note being issued.
Yeah, Steve sent out a resolution
it's a resolution.
for us to
Okay.
adopt. And I can read that resolution if people don't have it handy. Maybe it'd be good to read it just so it's in the recording. It says, resolution, the select board of the town of Moncton does hereby resolve to, 1, borrow the sum of $375,000 and no $100 for the purpose of paying town operating costs in anticipation of tax receipts as authorized at a duly authorized meeting of the select board held June 22nd, 2020. Said sum to be borrowed from National Bank of Middlebury. Number 2, approve the electronic execution of loan documents by select board members on behalf of the town. Town authorizes William Jost, treasurer, or blank to advance and repay loan funds on behalf of the town. Adopted by the select board of the town of Moncton, June 22nd, 2020. The blank is, I guess there was a suggestion that 2 people be authorized to release that.
Yes.
I can comment on that. I communicated with both Stephen Pilcher and Kathy Nolan, as well as Christopher LaPierre, our contact at the bank. And Kathy and I would follow Chris's reasoning that it be a second party of a different department than my own, if you will, someone not affiliated with the treasurer. And we would propose, or at least I would propose, that Steve Pilcher be designated as the second party. One of the reasons that Kathy thought it a better idea is because Steve is intimately familiar with the ongoing construction and related costs of the new community building, whereas Kathy would have to do additional work to see, to assess the legitimacy or whatever the accuracy of the invoices. I think this is only a, how should I put it, plan B. I should be able to, fulfill my responsibility
Yeah.
with no difficulty, but it's in the event that I am unable to, which I don't foresee.
So, Bill, you mentioned the building thing, but this is the tax anticipation note, not the
Oh,
bond.
I'm sorry. Yeah. In other words, I'll be here doing what I do, and
Yeah.
I should be able to approve invoices to draw. Thank you for that, John. To draw from the tax anticipation note.
Yeah.
My response confused it with the bond anticipation note.
Yeah, but it's still the
But
recommendation.
Steve's still the man.
Yeah, okay.
And Steve would be the other person along with Bill. But Steve did tell me today, if we do pass the resolution, he'd like all 5 of us to sign it.
I have no problem with that. It's just nice to have somebody who's authorized to do it,
Is the part of the vote?
so we don't start bouncing checks or something if Bill gets sick or something.
So Bill Jost, what happens if we
Yep.
wait 2 weeks for this resolution?
That would be problematic because I believe we would be funded in the next day or two,
Gotcha.
and I would want that to happen.
I think we should go ahead on this, Bill.
Okay.
And I think we should put Steve in. If Steve's not comfortable signing it on his own, he can always say, I'm not signing it till the rest of you do. And he would only do it on an emergency basis, but it's going to be kind of an emergency basis anyway if Bill's not available to do it. And we can always change the resolution next meeting to say we want all 5 if we have to. But, at least this gets it going and gets the tax anticipation note moving. So I would move to approve the resolution as read with the insertion of Stephen Pilcher, Select Board Chair, in that blank.
Seconds?
I think Kate Kelly waved, but she's muted.
Oh.
I'll second.
Okay.
Discussion?
Thanks.
There being none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Obviously none. So all done. Bill will get that signed and I'll get it to Steve to sign too.
Great.
I'll do that tomorrow sometime.
Thank you.
Thank you. So is there another agenda item that you were going to talk on, the bond anticipation loan? Or is that part of the tax anticipation note?
The bond anticipation note was, even though it's listed as an agenda item,
Yeah,
there's no update for this evening.
okay.
The reason being, that's full speed ahead, if you will. The reason being that the Vermont Municipal Bond Bank is holding its meeting this coming Thursday.
Okay,
And the last outstanding item for National Bank of Middlebury is their approval of Moncton's submission. And they
Well,
the bank won't proceed without that.
gotcha.
So my guess is that this is an agenda item for your next meeting, just to approve that note, much like you did tonight with the tax
Correct.
anticipation note.
All right. So, did somebody have something? Thought I heard something. All right. Moving on, new town offices and library status. I certainly, not being on the building committee, have nothing to report on this. Do you know anything?
Thank you, folks. I'm out the door.
All right, Bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
John, have you heard anything, any updates or changes?
I'm sorry, I was texting Will or emailing Will to try to get him to pop in. I didn't hear the question.
If you knew anything that I don't know about the status of the town office and library. Will is a once-a-day emailer, so I don't know that you're going to get an answer tonight.
Okay.
Bill, I have.
Looks like Betsy, yeah.
Yeah, I can tell you that the Development Review Board approved their conditional use at the last meeting, which I believe was the 9th. It was the day after your last select board meeting.
Gotcha.
So they have their conditional use approval. So I think as far as the zoning part, they just need to get their building permit from Chris.
Gotcha. And,
Other than that, I don't have anything.
and the curb cut we did on that a meeting or two ago also.
Hmm.
So if we want to go back before we go ahead, there's the agenda item, the building envelope commissioning contract. And I really wish Will or Steve were here. I mean, I've read it. I don't know if anybody else has read it. It's a contract for $8,620 to have BVH integrated services, and it was addressed to Bellwether Architects, our architect, about doing all the review of the envelope details, air barriers, air tightness progress testing, and the whole building compliance. It's all about energy efficiency. And plus, in addition to air blower, they're going to do infrared scan. So, but I don't honestly, other than Steve gave us this letter in the packet, I have no idea if this is something new or if it's in the building committee budget or what the story is. It doesn't sound like anybody else does.
No,
I just called Steve. He is going to call Will and see if he will call in.
Okay.
And he says if Will doesn't, he will jump in.
Okay.
Steve
Well,
will
we can. So Steve's still listening, or you're just calling him?
He's on the meeting, but not paying much attention. So I call him and he
Thank you.
picks up and says, "What's up?" He sounds
All right.
a little groggy.
So we'll jump ahead and wait, and hopefully Will or Steve can join us. The Emergency Management Director status, Ray COVID. Well, I'm not the Emergency Management Director, so I have nothing to report on that. Anyone else? Nope. Okay. We can go to old business and sort of stall a little bit in the hopes that somebody who's involved with the building project would join us. You had a meeting, John, but that was last meeting on the right-of-way on Jockey Lane.
I did a site visit with Jim Carroll, the town
Yep.
attorney. And did I fill people in on this last meeting?
I thought
Yes.
you did.
Okay. Since then, I've spoken with the town attorney, and he is still searching for the original survey for the road, has suggested that we bring the surveyor in who's surveyed the properties in this area, because he may have some other sources to look for that. We can proceed without it. It's just easier to proceed with it. So I spoke to the surveyor today. He is going to touch base with the attorney just so they don't duplicate where one has already searched, the other doesn't, and start moving that ahead. And he said he will also give us, once they've figured out, where they're going with that, he'll give us a proposal for, surveying to establish the center line.
What surveyor was it? Just out of curiosity.
Tim Short,
Tim Short, yep.
he is the one who has most recently done surveying in that area. He did one in 2001, I believe it was.
Yep.
John, I have a question. With the surveyor coming in and the lawyer doing his due diligence and everything, I'm just curious, what is the new surveyor going to find? Because I thought that all surveyors have to provide their documentation as a record in the town halls or whatever.
Yeah.
But I'm curious, just what kind of expense can we expect from this?
Well, that's what he is going to give us once he has spoken with Jim Carroll.
Oh, okay.
He'll give us a quote or an estimate or whatever. Here's what it's going to take to get this marked. If he finds the original road survey, that'll show meets and bounds. It'll be very straightforward. Bang, bang, pin here, pin here, pin here. If we don't find that, he will basically go by information available on the ground. You can see the historical travel path. You can see where ground has been recently disturbed. And we actually showed the lawyer during our site visit, you can see where, there's no root flare on some of the trees because the soil has been piled up 3 feet deep around them.
Right.
So hopefully,
Yeah.
It's more straightforward to do it from the original survey, but he can find it from, just evidence on the ground if he has to. And so that marking, once the two of them have talked, then we'll have the plan on here's what he proposes to do, here's what it's going to take. And I've mentioned this before, but I also wanted to disclose that I'm going to have the surveyor up here anyway to refresh my boundary and also find pins on some land, adjacent land I bought. that land is nowhere near this part in question. So I have told him to, if he can, to combine the trips and just charge the, travel charges and things like that to me, so the town doesn't have to do that. I'm mentioning it now so that if somebody thinks there's some I don't think there's a conflict. I'm not getting any financial benefit out of lumping them together. All the benefits going to the town, but I just want to disclose that.
Understood. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for that offer too. So Will, can you hear us?
Yes.
All right,
Unmute.
yep. Let's step back. I have on the agenda tonight, and I have a letter from BVH Integrated Services about doing the building envelope commissioning services, and none of us are familiar with that. Can you fill us in? It's a
Yeah, so
proposal for, go ahead.
So the commissioning services, so that's one of those items that falls into the, the town's budget, not something that's contracted through Naylor and Breen. Naylor and Breen does have various steps in their process where they ensure building air tightness, but it's good to have a third party representing the town to ensure that we're getting a building that essentially meets the energy code and is a way in which that we have a independent third-party inspection.
Well, I'm sorry to interrupt. I have a question for you. What is this? Is this charge for this service was this included in part of the bid proposal?
So it was part of actually I can pull that up. So it wasn't in the Naylor and Breen item, but it was in the total project budget.
Yeah, well, that's what I meant, the total project budget.
Yeah, yep.
Okay, my point, I guess, all right, that's good.
Yep.
Most of my questions answered, but all builders are not necessarily required to find these services. They are required by law to do them that are cited. They're actually, the state of Vermont has created a list of objectives that they must meet and attest to. And they are, in fact, when they attest to it, they're responsible for 10 years to make sure that those objectives have been met as far as the installation, air blower tests that do not require a second party to determine. It's simply an objective. So my point being, I guess, is this, how much is this expense? And if Naylor and Breen is doing their due diligence, why are we involving this company into this program?
It's certainly a good point there. I think it's just one of those things that being a municipal building, that I think between Bellwether Architects and Naylor and Breen, even Naylor and Breen kind of supported this idea that it on a project this scale, on a municipal project, to ensure that separation from the builder and from somebody that can ensure that, the testing agency, I don't know, it's just.
It sounds like a way to avoid an insurance or legal liability is all I can hear.
Oh, from the Naylor and Breens, yeah.
I just pointed that out. I'm not contesting this or anything. It just seems to me that the statutes, for construction in the state of Vermont are very clear for energy efficiency. The energy efficiency requirements are laid out for all of us in commercial and residential construction. And to have a third party come in to police that when the actual builder is totally liable, regardless of that police action, okay, all that does is it just transfers the liability of whatever they didn't do to that third party, which is the inspection company that we were talking about. And so I'm just curious if that's about a reasonable use of the monies when Naylor and Breen are more than adequate to take care of that themselves.
I will just say, kind of from the big picture, it was a discussion point, and Naylor and Breen and Bellwether thought it was kind of belts and suspenders approach to ensure that we got the best quality product that met all the criteria. You know, for me personally, I'm not as involved in the commercial construction side, so I can't bring some of my construction management expertise into this conversation. So I am relying heavily on Naylor and Bellwether for sure.
No, and I'm not saying that I have anything more.
Oh yeah, yeah.
more than, I'm not saying I have anything more than that. It just seems that for me, when people ask that we keep everything in budget, that these particular type of items do tend to, make me curious as to whether or not there's a validity to it.
No, the one thing
That's
the one thing that Naylor and Breen said is when, for example, when they do blower door tests during construction, what they do is they basically just really depressurize the building just to find leaks. So it's not necessarily a very tested process that Naylor and Breen does, but having this third party validate everything is with their third party separation is, in their mind, when they look at these projects, it's a.
Do you know if they bid it out or if this is just their go-to firm to do that? Because I know there are other firms that do it.
So this is someone that I think that Bellwether has worked with, Naylor and Breen is familiar with. That's a great question, Bill. I mean, I think that is certainly a possibility that could happen here.
Yeah, go ahead, Bill.
So this gets done near the end of construction, maybe before trim out, but after the building's sealed up?
Yes,
So
because
we don't have to approve this contract tonight?
nope, it just helps us to kind of define the total project budget. Just kind of removes that extra bit of risk to the bottom number, but we do have some time.
Are these things that they'll be testing for all things that are covered, Paul, under Vermont's building requirements, or are some of these part of the contractual requirements in terms of energy efficiency?
You asking me, Mary Kate?
Well, you were the one who said.
Yeah, no, the state, no, there are very specific requirements for all the wall envelopes, windows, attic systems, basements, insulation. It essentially has this large program that encompasses the entire envelope, and there are certain things that you can do, and what they're asking for is a certain standard of R value and efficiency. You can swap one thing for another as long as you finish with that final number. And so a blower test is not necessarily indicative of for instance, windows that are not necessarily the most
correct,
well functioned for this environment, because you can actually make it up with a more insulated wall envelope or a more insulated basement envelope. So it's a sort of like a give and take between different components within a building, and primarily it's based on residential. It's not necessarily, it is related to commercial. In this particular case, with this particular building, I would assume that what Will's suggesting and what this company's providing has some value because of the fact that it is a municipality. But the general principles are the same. It's just that and Bellwether knows perfectly well all these components. They know perfectly well what the energy efficiency requirements are for the windows, the walls, this attic, the basement. They know all of that. So having this company come in, the only thing I guess I would probably say is, when I have blower door tests done on my projects, because I have to meet certain energy efficiency requirements, the cost is about $900. Okay, that's it. Now, what they come up with for an evaluation, you can go beyond that and do infrared, which then detects heat loss through the wall cavities and so forth. But my point, guess, is that what is the value of this service, and is it necessarily competitive with what Bellwether should be doing to create the envelope that is now recognized as the most efficient? That's all.
So let me kind of back up a minute. So yeah, so I understand there's state standards with regard to that, but does our contract have standards that are higher than that as part of what for these services?
Our state standards are higher than most in the country because we live in a northern region. So if you look at a federal standard,
I'm just talking about are our contractual standards higher than what the state standards are? So are they testing to make sure they're in compliance with state standards or with standards that we have in the contract that are higher? Does anybody know?
Well,
yeah, and I guess to back up a second, what this proposal also does, to Bill, your point earlier about, you know, when exactly is the best time to get these guys on board, it is actually the way in which these guys work actually is they do get involved in the final drawing review, and one aspect that they provide benefit in the final drawing review is they're another set of eyes on, in addition to the architect, in addition to Naylor and Breen, in addition to the design, build, electrical, plumbing, and HVAC contractor. They basically are looking at those construction drawings and ensuring that all those touch points of the electrician coming through and making a hole in the building, the plumber, the HVAC, that they're ultimately, Naylor and Breen's gonna own some of the airtightness, but these guys help kind of close any potential scope gaps in the project on the drawing development stage, and then they kind of do the I guess the test for the blower door versus what Naylor and Breen is going to do, which is just we just depressurize the building to an absurd number and just try to find the air leaks. Whereas this, we're going to have the kind of the reports, the validation of the building to the town that then we own.
That part of it in their letter is actually only about 12% of the total. And it just says they're looking for possible construction sequencing conflicts. And it's $980 of the $8,600.
yeah, no. I just wanted to throw this out there because I think that I believe it's the general contractor's responsibility, regardless of a third party, to inspect this. And I just feel that the funds spent on this are probably something that the general contractor would be responsible for. Now, Grant, I just believe that we have standards that have been set in stone for a long time now, so I'm not sure I understand. I didn't understand it, so you explained it, and I appreciate that.
Well, and I guess the other thing is that from the start of this, we said, was this in the original contract with, I forget if it was Naylor and Breen or Bellwether, and the answer was no. So whether they're capable of doing it or not, we didn't put it in their contract. You know, you could say you should do this, but they're going to want an adder if we insist that they do it. And I think
it would be an adder on Bellwether if we had Bellwether hire this entity. It would be if we told Naylor and Breen that, hey, you know, we want to report, we want something more than you guys just internally, you know, managing this project and ensuring you're like, there'll be somewhat of an adder there. So that's why it's shown as kind of an owner cost. And, you know, we did have like building commissioning, building envelope in the total project. I think that I'd have to double check I think our initial total project budget maybe to had a lump sum of 5,000 for this particular line item, just not knowing what exactly the proposal would come in as. Obviously it's a little more than that.
The other thing by having a third party do it at the end of construction, even though maybe, as Bill says, the contractor is responsible for complying with state statutes in the contract, we have no idea really whether they do comply with it, absent having a third party test and tell us, yes, they have complied with all of that. So I see sometimes where, you know, I think it happened with the Moncton Central School on the roof, right? They figured that out when it was leaking a long time later that it wasn't constructed properly. It's always helpful to have someone look at it and give you that information if there's an issue at the end of construction so it can be addressed. Then doesn't mean that they'll catch everything, but it seems like at least on these tests we'd get a written report.
So if Will said that it was 5,000, he thinks is a line item, this is an increase of $3,620. If
Yeah,
that's
and I can pull up the. I'm just going to look for that right now. I'm going to find the total project budget that went in front of the bond.
as Paul pointed out, Paul and I are familiar with what's called RBES, the Residential Building Energy Standards. The CBES, the commercial buildings, have so many exceptions based on the type of use of the building you're doing. In other words, if you say, I'm going to have trucks make deliveries, oh, then don't worry about the energy. I mean, but I would imagine a town hall would be much closer to the residential standards because we don't have warehousing, we don't have deliveries. And the residential
would hope.
standards were mandated, what, Paul, about 4 years ago, 5 years ago, when they were finally became law?
Yeah, well, yeah, 5 years ago, you had to start submitting to the state of Vermont your application for it, for every project that you did. That it was, and it's quite an interesting application that you have to complete.
I know.
And the contractor's liable for it, even if it passes hands.
Yep, and the law was amended last year or the summer before, I guess, that says in addition to the RBES certification form, a copy must be pasted to the inside of the electric panel
yeah.
on residential proproperties, and it must
Correct.
now, this year, be recorded in the land records. I don't know if that applies to commercial.
I didn't know. I just know that from the residential aspect. But I guess my point is, if you have $5,000 of fees that were actually dedicated to this process, and then they're looking for an additional $3,600 or $3,000, I think that's a problem.
Well, can I?
Go ahead, Will.
I was going to say I did pull up the total project budget that was from March ahead of the bond vote. I pulled it off the website under the building committee meeting or building committee group, and it was actually $8,000 that we had for envelope commissioning.
So it's a $620 increase.
All right.
Yeah.
No, and I'm yeah.
And I so we did have a good chunk of this covered, and to Bellwether's defense, I think they were, we didn't actually look for quotes at that time. It was comparable projects.
Based on their experience, yeah.
So
I see, looking at the form that Steve sent out, or the letter that Steve sent out, there's a thing a few pages down at the bottom of the page that says accepted by and a date. Is that to be accepted by the select board, or is that something that, the letter's written to Bellwether? Is that something for Bellwether to fill in?
well, that's a good question, John. I think initially Bellwether was like, it can be under our contract and it could just be a pass through to the town. But Steve and I were like, well, I think it'd probably be better if that's the case. It makes sense just to be by the town. So
okay.
And I agree with that.
This should change.
We're
This
gonna
should
do
change
that.
to be accepted by the town.
Yeah, it doesn't say who, so in that case, I guess assume we're looking for a motion is why I asked.
Right.
Um,
What's your pleasure?
So I would move to accept, I'm just looking for the name of this.
DVH Integrated Services proposal for the Moncton Town Office and Library Building Envelope Commission Services.
Yes,
You move that.
yes, in the amount of $8,620.
Seconds?
I'll second for discussion purposes.
Discussion.
This isn't an agreement with the town, it's with Bellwether.
Yes.
So if the idea is to have it with the town, I think we need this revised to reflect that.
So do we actually need to see that paperwork, or can we make the motion subject to revision reflecting the town of Moncton?
I read the back page and it defines all the parties and clients, but the way I read this letter, the client is Bellwether Architects.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, John, I do think though that you're correct. We could say, you know, subject to there being no change in the terms, but that the client being the town of Moncton as versus Bellwether, subject to those changes we approve.
Do you wish to change your motion, John? And
Yes, so I changed the same motion, but add subject to changing this to reflect an agreement with the town of Moncton.
Mary Kate, you were the second. Do you still second that?
Yeah, I'll second that again.
Discussion? No further discussion? Go ahead.
Yeah, the only comment I'd say is that I don't know if you guys have already talked with Bellwether or not about this, about whether it should be them or us, but if something comes up that said, oh, that's crazy, we should sign it. I'm not going to hold it up because of that, but it's certainly the motion is that the town is willing to approve this.
John, they did suggest it'd be better by the town.
Okay.
Bellwether did.
So that as John moved, we will have to have this amended. Any further discussion?
Yeah, I just wanted, you know, Paul, you seem to have, and of course there's the expertise, Bill, and I'm aware of the residential stuff. But I didn't know, Bill, if you had any, sorry, Paul, if you had any other thoughts with your construction background.
No, and I'm not, this is just sort of a small issue that I have, and it's nothing that would bar me from moving forward with this. It just seems to me that when you hire a general contractor to do his job and do the diligence, you always bring in a second party to double check these particular standards, because they're the troubleshooters for all the other mechanicals that go into the building that they may not necessarily be able to oversee. And I totally understand that. However, when you change the scope of the cost in the, after the fact, I start to question whether or not there was any real thought process, or there's some other alternative or ulterior motive going on here, as far as trying to get things accomplished because they assumed something and they really didn't figure it out, that this company wants more money to do these services. And instead of necessarily defining what they should do so that it stays within budget, they just let it go because they are not responsible for the bill. That's all there is to it. So to me, I think that if you can't hold the people accountable for the costs that they initiate at the beginning for the bond and what people voted on, then they have to come up with a pretty good explanation as to why it's changing. And that is a responsibility of Naylor and Breen and Bellwether to explain that to us.
Okay, so Paul, I can certainly understand and agree with that when we were talking about Will's top of the head 5,000 number versus 8,600. But seeing now that it's 8,000 versus 8,600, is that still a significant concern of yours?
No. I did tell you that I'm more than willing to go forward. I just would like some more, I would just like things to be more concise and accurate during these meetings, so that when anybody joins in, they don't see a, confusion in the numbers, because that creates a lot of animosity with some of the people in our town who would like to think that this thing is been figured out and they're going to go forward. That's all. Yep. We shouldn't have to have these things jump up at us in the middle of these meetings, because like I said, it does create a little concern for other people. That's all. So I'm good. No, I'm good for it. I'm good with it.
Any further discussion? There being none, all those in favor of approving the commissioning contract with the changes proposed by John and Mary Kate, that it identifies the town of Moncton and not just Bellwether, indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Abstain? Okay. All in favor, the motion's passed. 4-0-0. I think we've now completed everything under new business. Old business, we heard from John again on Jockey Lane and what's next. Salvage yards in Moncton, to my knowledge, nothing at all has been done for months in this area.
We have anything else for Will that we need him here for?
Sorry.
No.
I don't see anything, just asking. If that's the only reason you're hanging around, I just want to make sure.
Well,
Thanks,
I'll
Will.
get, I'll get some
Thanks,
food.
Bill.
Thanks, you guys. Have a
Thank
good
you,
rest of the night.
You
Go
too.
have your dinner. I see somebody cooking it in the background.
Thanks for your effort.
So salvage yards in Moncton, nothing new to my knowledge. I haven't even talked to Chris Purley about it in about a month or more. He sent out letters and we know they were not effective. Town Highway 36 road reclassification, I think we discussed at the last meeting. Possibly, I think Steve mentioned maybe doing two at once or doing one at a time, and I don't think we reached a consensus. Am I correct or not?
Well,
Yeah, I think,
Yeah.
go ahead.
The only
No,
one I
go
see
ahead.
on the agenda is Town 36, which I
Right.
think is John
Right.
Howard's.
Yes. I think we sort of. Go ahead,
Steve had mentioned last meeting of trying to also get the one with the culvert bridge, the bridge over by Ken Willings done
Oh,
at
yeah,
the same time.
Yeah.
And that, and I said I'd work with him on that, but we haven't had any communication yet about it.
All right. Town credit card policy. I think you worked on that with Steve.
Yeah, he's got a draft, but he needs to take a look and give me some feedback so we can finalize a draft for the board.
All right. We don't have that yet. Cloud storage and policy. I don't think we reached any consensus on that at the last meeting either. No.
I'm aware of.
No.
Since we sort of skipped around, is there anyone on here from the public that wants to make any comments or ask any questions, since we sort of shorted that time at the beginning? There being no one, the next order of business is to determine the time and date of the next meeting. My calendar says July 13th. Does that sound correct?
Yep.
July 13th, 7 p.m.
Correct.
If there's no other business,
Doing in person or Zoom?
I think we're going to have to decide that in the next 2 weeks. The state is up to 50% on 100 people on gatherings and 50% on events and things like restaurants. Betsy said there's an echo problem at the firehouse for people who join by Zoom, not for those of us there.
Well, can we move this decision to the next meeting by Zoom on July 13th?
Yep, and we have, what's warning, 14 days, so we'd actually have until, well, not very, we'd have until next Tuesday to warn it if we were going to change it from a Zoom meeting to an in-person Zoom meeting at the firehouse. Am I
So-
correct?
Paul, are you suggesting that we
No, no.
warn this
I
as a
actually,
Zoom?
I know, I don't know, because I don't think Steve's still comfortable with this. And I have some reservations too, because I do not necessarily believe that all buildings have air quality control that makes it,
Yeah.
and I know that the fire department does not have air quality control that I'm comfortable with any group of people over 10 for that matter. So I personally believe that it is a threat to me, so.
I think we also, even if we were to do it, we were to gather, we'd still need to have it a Zoom meeting as well, so that people, members of the public who want to attend and don't feel comfortable would be able to attend.
I'm
I
thinking we warn this one as a Zoom meeting,
All right.
this next one.
So
Yes.
then the
Steve,
next
did you
meeting,
say something, or you're muted?
he's muted. He's drinking his medicine.
Yeah, I am. Actually, it's electrolytes.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Electrolytes with a little benefit. Anyway.
So it sounds like our next meeting will be July 13th at 7 p.m. and it will once again be a Zoom meeting.
That sounds great. You know, at our next meeting, we'll have that contract from Naylor and Breen to look at. The big one, you know, $1.62 million.
If you could get it to me ahead of time, that'd be great.
I will definitely get it to everybody ahead of time.
Thanks.
And another quick mention is that I got a call from the state police, a nice guy. Now, let's see if I can come up. I know his first name. His name's Mike. And I'll come up with it in a little while. But anyway, nice guy. He was having trouble enforcing our traffic signs, he thought. But I showed him all of our traffic certificates, and he thought that it would be really nice to have all of our stuff in one place. You know, rather than have a pile of certificates this high, just say town road from here to here is 40 miles an hour. Yeah.
And a lot of other towns have that, and it's actually in Heinsberg, it's on their website.
Yep. That's all.
Anyone else?
I was about to add, when you guys were talking about the sheriff with the trucks and then my computer froze, that they pulled a tractor trailer over at the top of our driveway last week. So I don't know if they gave him a ticket or not though.
Yeah.
Was it a white pickup truck or a regular sheriff's car?
It was my husband. I wasn't here. I was at work. My husband.
Okay.
So I don't know, but I could find out for you.
Just because they're new enforcement vehicles, a white pickup, and it says commercial enforcement on it.
Okay. They weren't up there very long, so he doesn't think they ticketed him, but
Not a good place to pull over a big truck.
no.
No room.
And did Rick Dinkle have a chance to get his say? No.
I don't think he's with us anymore.
Okay.
We offered,
He is still
we-
on here. He hasn't said anything.
we offered a informational time for anybody, and nobody spoke up.
Yep. No, that's
Since
fine.
the start of the meeting was messed up, we offered public comments again at the end.
Yep.
So,
All right.
there being no other business, I'll entertain a
I have
motion.
a question for Steve. I kind of alluded to it, but in case you got more information than I do, we got letters from the Old Stage Road, Parks Hurlburt Road person and somebody else on Old Stage Road.
Yeah, I thought they were going to come to this meeting. I sort of encouraged them to come to this meeting.
So did I. We had we had those difficulties at the beginning, so I put something on the town website and the Facebook page saying, hey, meeting difficulties, but it's up now, log back in. And I don't know if anybody saw it,
So
we did, I don't know if you were on, but we
wasn't.
did mention that either you or Bill will mention to the sheriff to ask them to include that in their patrols. Include that.
Yeah, we can.
Particularly here, if they're here at the time of day that they indicated was the biggest problem.
Yeah, well, if they can tell us when the guy in the Corolla comes screaming by, it'd be great to just set the sheriff off to the end of over on Parks Hurlburt and watch that guy come shooting out.
Yeah. I'm going to make a point of swinging by and talking to the person on the corner anyway. I still haven't caught up to them about the tree issue, which is nothing now, but could grow into one for sightlines. And so I'll talk to them about that too, and just say, keep us posted if you got times or if you get a license plate number or something.
Yep. Okie dokie.
Anyone else? There's
Move
nothing
to
else.
adjourn.
Go ahead.
That was John. Move to adjourn.
Second,
Second, Mary Kate.
all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 All right, 4-0, no dissension. So we'll see you all on July 13th by Zoom.
Thanks, Bill.
By Zoom.
Yes, thank you. Everybody
Thanks.
forgive me, my first time running this.
No, no, and
Nice
I
job.
apologize
Great
for
job.
the technical difficulties. It really was a screw up. And we have to, we continue to have to figure out how to share a Zoom account across multiple people.
Steve, you feeling okay? Better?
Yeah,
Steve, you and I should, at some point, maybe we can get together and figure out how to assign another host.
I don't think we can. We have to, if I'm up, sure.
There's two ways to do, well, you were logged in, so it should have been possible. There's two ways to do it, but one relies on another person having an account, a sub account within the same account. The other one, you can do anybody.
Just
And,
take it
I
off.
just have to review it.
If you're around tomorrow morning, I have a Zoom meeting at 9.
Yeah,
So if you want to,
I've got one from 10 to 11.
yeah, you want to grab me before 9 or sometime later tomorrow?
Yeah, before 9. So,
All right. See you guys.
See
Good
ya.
night, all.
yeah.
Yeah. All right, thank you.
Are you going to end it, Steve, or should I reclaim host and end it?
I don't think you can reclaim host. What's all this chat in here?
It says I'm the host now. Oh, well.
All right, there you go.
We don't have to shut the recording. It'll shut when we end.
Yeah, definitely.
Good night.